Well, in 1924, an Ireland football team represented this country at the 1924 Paris Olympics. It's significant in so many different areas. The main one being this was the first time a team represented the country, the 26 counties, the newly formed independent Ireland. Now, because we were representing also the Olympic Federation, or the Olympic Council of Ireland as it was known then, it was actually a 32 county representative team, but it was solely comprised of players from the 26 counties. And again, solely comprised of players who were then playing in the League of Ireland. It was the first time that the tricolour was flown at abroad an international sporting event. It was also the first time that we had Olympians competing as an independent nation, because the football tournament was played 5 and 6 weeks before the other part of the Olympics, the main part of the Olympics. So significant in so many different areas.
It was originally at an organised level, organised by the Irish Football Association, which now obviously runs the game in Northern Ireland. They were based in Belfast. It was run on an all-island basis. In 1921, this island was in total turmoil. There was a war of independence, there was a civil war, and so even though we had domestic football, we had St James's Gate were our first champions. They did the double. We didn't play at a representative level until 1924, and the Welsh League played here in Dalymount Park, still without doubt the home of Irish football. In February 1924 they drew 3-3 here. That was our first representative game, and as part of that we got an invite to the 1924 Olympics in Paris. And the football tournament for the 1924 Olympics was really the first major football tournament. There had been football in the Olympics before that, but not to this level. And 22 teams were invited to Paris. It was a huge deal for the fledgling Free State side to actually go to Paris. There had to be fundraising matches. Celtic played here in a friendly to raise money. The players were fundraising themselves. I mean, it was very, very different times. There wasn't the money there is obviously in the game now. So that team travelled to Paris, and on the 28th of May 1924, the very first side took the field representing what is now the Republic of Ireland, or the Irish Free State as it was then. And on an incredible occasion, they managed to win their very first game by 1-0, captained by Dinny Hannon of Athlone Town, and the goal scorer was Paddy Duncan of St James's Gate. And that was a truly historic moment for Irish football.
Of the 16 players who were selected to represent Ireland in the 1924 Olympics, 5 were Athlone Town players, 5 were Bohemians players, and 5 were St James's Gate players. The 16th player was from a club called Brooklyn. And to have 5 players from a provincial small club represent Ireland in the Olympics is a remarkable achievement. Even more so when you consider that the first 2 captains were Athlone Town players. Dinny Hannon captained Ireland in the game against Bulgaria and the Netherlands, and then in the friendly in Estonia was captained by John Joe Dykes, a Sligo man who played for Athlone Town at the time.
Back up until the 1960s, FIFA, which of course is the governing body for the entire world football, they were quite happy to recognise Olympic Games matches, also a plethora of other friendlies and maybe games that today wouldn't be described as full senior internationals, but in that era they were. So what happened was, for decades up until the 1960s, these 4 games, the 2 Olympic Games matches against Bulgaria and the Netherlands, then the subsequent friendlies against Estonia in Paris, and then the game against the USA here in Dalymount, they were recognised. But FIFA had a review in the 1960s and downgraded a load of games, not just Ireland games involving countries throughout the world. Then in the late 90s, in conjunction with a group of world football statisticians, they decided to have a look, review all these again. So they reinstated hundreds of matches throughout the globe as senior internationals.
Only 12 players had played between the 2 games, so there was a game arranged against Estonia, who had also been knocked out of the tournament. So on the 3rd of June, we actually played Estonia, and in our 3rd ever international, and beat them 3-1 in Paris. And another significant moment, because that night, this tournament, the 1924 Olympics and the football of the 1924 Olympics had been organised by FIFA, and the president was a man by the name of Jules Rimet. Now, most people will certainly know the name. The first World Cup, he organised the first World Cup. The first World Cup was named after him. And the Irish team actually dined with Jules Rimet on the 3rd of June 1924 in Paris. Many of these men actually went to their graves as senior internationals, but it must have come as a huge disappointment to those still living in the 60s that the recognition as being our first senior internationals been taken away. And I'm absolutely delighted that the FAI board have seen fit to in my view, right the wrong that unfortunately was done by FIFA, and has subsequently been corrected.
These players were the starting point of a tradition that brings together Roy Keane and Sonia O'Sullivan, you know, Roddy Delaney and Katie McCabe. They really were ambassadors for sport. So it's fantastic that they're being honoured. It's fantastic that the FAI has seen fit to give them the proper recognition, and it's tremendous, both from a historical point of view, that the history books are being rewritten, but also for the families of those players, that their ancestors are receiving due recognition for their tremendous achievements.
Up until the FAI approved this at board level in April, which was the final sanction for this event to go ahead and for the games to be again recognised as full senior international games. So what's happened since then is that a group of people, Gary Spain, Ty Carey, Aidan O'Riordan and Jerry Farrell and myself have been working at tracing families. Now already a number of the lads and the other lads have done a lot of work on this over the years. I mean, talking to a few of the families and talking to Gary and the other lads, some of the families were well aware. But now, because you're going to maybe the third or fourth generation at this stage, you're talking about grandchildren and great-grandchildren at this stage because of the lapse in time. Some of them might be vaguely aware, but others, others had no awareness of it. And then, of course, some families were very, very aware of what's going on. Obviously, there are direct links, and then there are less well-known links with people. And of course, families 100 years later, century later, some of them are scattered all over the world, so it's great for them.
The reaction we've received from families that we've contacted as part of the research process for this has been tremendous. There's been a real outpouring of elation and excitement that their ancestors have been recognised officially by the FAI, and to have it done at a ceremony in the Aviva, is really the icing on the cake.
I think these men deserve to be recognised. They were our first internationals. They were pioneers of Irish football. In 1924, they went to Paris. The tricolour was flown abroad at a sporting event for the very first time. It's something to celebrate. It's the centenary of, almost to the date, to the week, the centenary of our first major tournament, our first internationals. And I think it's great that we can celebrate with the descendants of these pioneers of Irish football.